You are listening to an MLGA Network podcast.
Hey, Maddie, how are you doing?
Fine, I guess.
It's been a while.
I know, it really has. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
You have a little bit of an attitude. What's going on with that?
I wouldn't say I have an attitude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Then why do you have an attitude?
Well, just the podcast name is Voluntary Vixens, and while, of course, we love Dave, I'm really not sure he's Vixen material.
Yeah, he doesn't. He said he doesn't do yoga or burn sage, so you're probably right.
Blasphemy!
Welcome to Voluntary Vixens, where Jessie and Maddie give a female voice to news and pop culture with a libertarian twist. Join us to stay informed and challenged while keeping it sane, peaceful, and most importantly, voluntary.
All right, so today we are recording on the week of Halloween. So it's extra spooky this week because we're going to talk about propaganda and media, which means that we also have to talk about lying.
Well, those two are hand in hand. And I would say the zombies are out.
Oh, yes.
And the people that must be listening to these news channels, reading these newspapers, to some degree, I think everybody's a little bit zombified because how is this stuff permissible? How is this stuff passing?
I don't know. What was it? A few months ago, somebody had talked to me about one of the sources that I had posted on Facebook was questionable, and I said, well, nowadays everything is questionable. I mean, you can't even trust the New York Times, and that just was like, that was blasphemy to her to say that.
Yeah, I know. I would agree. I mean, I think in my mode of approach in anything is question everything, and that's what I would tell everybody else to do: question everything. And I've had to do some serious rethinking in the past few days, and we'll get into that in a little bit because I think you would agree with me.
Yeah.
But, there's nobody that's safe. There's nobody that you can really trust. I mean, I trust Dave Smith. Sorry. But as he was saying in his podcast this week or whenever it was, it came out, like, we listened to that guy for just straight, unedited. No apologies, nothing like that. Listen to him for hours upon hours upon hours, all week, every week. Like, we know him at this point. We know a lot of the people we go to now that are, I wouldn't say news sources, but they're commentators. Mm-hmm. And so they actually happen to enjoy or get something useful out of watching these psychopaths on TV or in the press that are just lying as casually as if you were, eating or picking apples off a tree in the fall, like basic people.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is that, as far as like you can't really trust any news sources today because we know everything is biased. So, even if you're watching, I mean, when I talk to any of my friends really, and I tell them the news is bias and it's lying to you, they're like, well, so is Fox News. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I only listen to Fox News.
Yeah, actually, like, I don't, because I spend just as much time yelling at the TV when watching Fox News as when I'm watching torturously CNN or MSNBC, and usually either of those instances only when I'm out in public, and for some reason it's being played as if those are safe channels. Yeah. It's just funny about who will complain and who won't complain. I will say the right has all the problems that we've laid out before, and we'll probably touch on some as we discuss this topic today, but they don't complain like little you-know-whats all the time to everybody. I mean, they are the boomers are definitely out and about on Facebook and, you know, my flag, and they've got their issues, but the complaining,
yeah, I think
the incessant complaining, I can't handle it.
That's what kills me.
It definitely comes from one side over the other.
Now, I will say, when Obama was president, I remember my mom leaving Fox News on in her living room all the time, and even I would be like, turn it off. And I was no fan of Obama at all. Like, I will say, like, I like Trump better than Obama for various reasons, but I still could not stand to listen to people complain about a man all day long. And that's exactly what I can't stand about CNN and MSNBC and, you know, you name it. I mean, it's just, I was just talking to my husband today about our kids, because, like, today I yelled at both of them for basically just, like, nonstop repeating themselves over and over again, because we went trick-or-treating this past weekend, and, like, you know, for the past few days I've been letting them have, like, some candy after dinner. And it's like, I give them one piece of their candy and they keep asking for more. And it's just like, I don't know why you keep repeating yourself. It's the same answer every time. So,
because they're trying to wear you down.
Yeah. And maybe that's the goal of MSNBC and CNN too, is just to wear us down and be like, fine, impeach Trump or give up. You know, and that's never going to happen, but that's what they think. I guess that's what they think is going to happen. But it's super annoying. It reminds me of my children being children, and these are adults.
And your children are young children.
Yes. I'd expect
to remind the
reporters and newscasters to be much more mature and handle themselves better, and I'm not seeing that, and that's what's driving me insane.
No, we haven't seen that, and I feel like that something. I want to kind of know what spurred you to post your original meme on our Instagram account. So everybody should go follow us on Instagram.
Oh,
Jessie actually posted this velociraptor that was cursing Trump, and that was a Jessie original. Everybody, I applaud that. The fans already love it, so it seems. But did something in particular like pop up or happen that reminded you how crazy, I guess, the Trump derangement syndrome is?
Yeah, actually, what spurred it on is back in 2015, maybe earlier than that, there was the hashtag Thanks Obama that was like sarcastic, you know. I remember like a friend of mine making a funny post, and then she complained about how like the weather was terrible and her tire went flat and blah blah blah, and then she's, you know, said hashtag Thanks Obama. So then I don't know what spurred that on, but I just started thinking, like, wouldn't it be funny if there was just like a meme that just blamed Obama for something? And I found this amazing meme that had like a T-Rex and like meteors were like showering the sky, and it was saying, "Gee, damn it, Obama." And I thought that was so funny. And I was like, and I remember that being so funny, and I thought I had saved it on my phone, but I didn't. And then, okay, Trump comes into office, and then all of a sudden it's like everything that Trump does is terrible, and
Trump breathes. Impeach him.
I know. And they're like, we have a liar and a misogynist and a racist in the White House now. And it was just like constant. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to make one for Trump. He needs to have one of these too, because there's nothing funnier than dinosaurs being killed by meteorites.
Dinosaurs cursing the world. cursing Orange Man. Orange Man bad.
Yeah, so that was
my dinosaur voice.
Yeah, it wasn't a great story, but that was where it originated from. So thanks Obama hashtag for that meme, because you're the reason why I thought of it.
Well, thanks Obama for President Trump.
Yeah.
Because everybody forgets that, or doesn't, I don't know, certain people think that all of a sudden Trump just came out of nowhere. Let's remind everybody, Trump and his support and the whole following and the whole movement, everything about Trump and Trumpisms and 2016, the election in general, it was a reaction. It was a reaction to 8 years of Obama, and decades before that, I think, whether people were conscious of it or not.
That's what happens every 8 years, to be honest.
And that is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know,
Bush
it
was terrible, and everybody hated him. And what better way to erase Bush's legacy than to pick somebody who was completely different, and acts completely different, and even
very different from him.
But he basically did everything that he extended everything that Bush did. So.
Oh yeah, no, piggybacked off his terrible foreign policy and then expanded it from there.
Yeah.
And nobody talked about it. And what was crazy, and so, you know, when people will say that we might only focus on left criticisms versus right criticisms. As somebody who like came from the right and was at some point brainwashed enough to think that this was true, and you can tell me what you think about this, but so for the 8 years of Obama, what did the right say about him and his foreign policy? He was too soft. Mm-hmm. He, you know, didn't show strength. He didn't do enough. I'm pretty sure he was the one who took us from 2 conflicts to 8 conflicts internationally, all of them violent and very destructive, very murderous, and, you know, that's not soft, or that's not doing enough in my mind, in my book. And so for the right to completely whitewash what he was doing, and to make everybody seem, especially the people on the right that are going to trust people like on Fox News and all those right-wing talking heads. I mean, that's one of my biggest beefs with the right, and why I'm definitely not on the right. I'm not a Republican. Mm-hmm. Those people lied to me, and those people lied to all of us. And I think, like, that is one area. Foreign policy, they've been pretty bad on. I think they've gotten better. And especially, like, people like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
I think they've gotten better either because they were probably more principled and more actually conservative, as opposed to, like, being a neocon or some rhino or just some establishment hack or some shill for the industrial or military-industrial complex. You know, like, the ones that are actually maybe conservative, that might have the principle of limited government being something that they believe in to their core, and how that would apply to everything going on overseas as well. But, like, so, you know, Tucker Carlson, and then there's, like, there's a minute fraction of the never Trumper Republicans, mm-hmm. and they're the neocon war hawks that are saying the same thing about Trump, that, like, he's not doing enough. And it's like, Trump's still doing a lot. Like, I want to give him credit, and that his sentiment seemed to be that he wants less war. He wants to bring people home. He wants to interfere less. I want him to keep making actions to do so. He is the commander-in-chief, after all. And, you know, it's crazy to see that the president can go overseas without Congress's approval, but as soon as he tries to bring them back, everybody's up in arms about. It's just, it's literally upside down world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the criticisms of the right would be when it's kind of, I think, taken over by the neocons, and that they want us to be in all these endless wars.
Yeah, which is weird, because I feel like now this is my criticism of the left now, is, you know, you guys are becoming like the neocons.
They're cuddling. They're cuddling with the neocons. Yeah. They love Bill Kristol all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, they loved John McCain all of a sudden.
Don't even get me started on that guy. I have a really good meme I made on him, too, if you guys want to look at that.
Post it to our story.
It needs to be
it might get taken
t-shirt
down, but post it to our story. Let's do it.
But yeah, and his daughter is just, God.
Oh, she's awful.
Anyways,
another shout out to Pam Anderson for taking on Meghan McCain on Meghan McCain's own damn show.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was excellent.
God, that was beautiful. If you haven't seen that yet, everybody, like, I couldn't have said those things better. I couldn't have.
Yeah, and I guess that's my beef is, like, what have we accomplished so far with our wars? And
yeah, like which one?
What are we any safer today than we were in 2001?
Nope.
In fact, I would say we're probably at more risk. If an American traveling overseas is probably much more of a target for kidnapping in certain places. So I mean, it's just what do we do? Do we actually do anything? And then on top of that, the other my complaint with the right is this like need for to always like take the side of the police officer when it's clear the police officer was involved in something that they shouldn't have been involved in, or they handled something wrong. I mean, there was like a video that was released like this week of a girl, I think it was a special needs girl, who was being beat up by a police officer, and the principal of the school is like telling him to like stop.
Yeah. Jesus.
And I've seen this, but I've seen this a lot as a nurse and as a mental health professional, that a lot of we'll have like patients who they've been off their meds, they're schizophrenic, they're crazy, or they're bipolar, and they're in a manic episode. And police officers don't know how to know when a patient, or I mean, I guess a person, they're not a patient at that point, is wigging out because they are either seeing things that aren't there, or hearing things that are not there, or they're having like flight of ideas. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody who's like a paranoid schizophrenic, but I've seen them like have superhuman strength because they have so much anxiety.
Adrenaline?
Yeah. And their adrenaline is rushing.
Sorry, I'm yawning.
You're fine.
Not because you're boring. It's because I'm exhausted.
But, I mean, I've seen cops, like, handle it wrong. And, sure, I mean, you could say cops, their job, they do tend to be in dangerous situations more than maybe anybody else's job. But there's just, like, and maybe I'm a little bitter because I'm a nurse. And it's not like there's, like, we get, like, a month or a week, but it's not like I can walk into a store with my nursing uniform on and people are like,
thank you for your service.
Yeah, thanks for your service. No one does that. It's like, I just like could have done CPR on somebody and brought somebody back from the dead, but I don't get any of that. We're hardly ever put in the first responder category. So, it's just, not only do I see like cops mishandling situations and escalating situations that they could de-escalate if they knew how to deal with it, or if they even had the desire to de-escalate a situation. But, I just see people constantly just saying, well, that you just got to understand they have so much stress on them and they're in life or death situations all the time. So, okay, maybe we need to stop letting people make laws that put them in having to enforce stupidity all the time, number one.
Seriously.
And number two, maybe they need to learn how to de-escalate situations instead of escalate situations.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they could go to Maj Torres, conflict resolution, de-escalation training, firearms training. Mm-hmm. I think everybody would benefit. Everybody who's in uniform would go benefit from learning from Maj.
And I honestly don't think we would need cops as much if we were an armed society. No,
I agree with that as well.
We wouldn't need to call them to save us from situations because we would be able to handle it without them, Yeah,
I was, and I've seen a lot of, because, we run in ANCAP circles on the internet, a lot of voluntarist circles that are for the full privatization and non-state affiliation of basically every service that you can imagine. And but one thing that I did appreciate was the sentiment of, like, and the idea of making cops obsolete. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where I think people like to hold in their mind, like, religiously, that cops are the keepers of the peace. And maybe once upon a time before it was kind of nationalized and federalized, and it's become so militarized as like the past decade. Maybe at one point the local sheriff, was a peacekeeper, and or maybe that role could be assumed once again. But really, they're out there, making quotas and showing off their authority, and cops that are listening to this, like, hopefully that means you're awake enough, and you might be in this shitty position. Yeah. Sorry, I'm cussing lately, but you're in this position that, whatever circumstances you found yourself in as a cop, it's like, I can't make choices for you, but I really hope that in that position of incredible power, I hope you make the right decisions, you do the right thing, you can be a good example, and fight out corruption, root out corruption wherever you see it, because there's nobody that's going to do it for them. There's nobody that's going to do it for you, the individual. It's not what they're about. As soon as they're kind of put into this state apparatus, all the incentives to actually be efficient, actually be peaceful, actually be something productive for the community, it kind of all goes out the window.
Yeah. And I mean, really, like you're saying, people should be really getting behind Maj Toure a lot more, because if more of these like neighborhoods that he's from the hood, so he's talking about like people who are in violent neighborhoods. He's talking about people who lose their kids because somebody shot through their apartment and their kid was just sleeping in their bed that night. Things that I don't even want to imagine happening to me or my family. So he's talking about, taking up and protecting yourself, learning how to use a firearm safely. Cops should be behind that. The whole community should be behind that, because what cop wants to go into the hood at 3:00 in the morning, right?
And the one that does, I don't trust him at all.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to go there because they know how dangerous it is, much less a cop who he knows he's going to have a big target on his head, because nobody likes the cops there. So,
yeah.
What better way?
I mean, they haven't done themselves any favors in those neighborhoods, but, self-policing.
Yeah.
Make the cops obsolete.
Yeah.
And that does, it's just, it's going back to that whole, like, think locally, act locally. If you can build your community, build your comfort with your neighbors. Like, I know we don't have time, and I know people are weird. Like, my neighbor downstairs, she's kind of crazy, but, God bless her.
Well, and I think, just kind of, because we're talking about how, like, the media, like the right-wing media really just tries to make cops, like, try to defend cops at every story where there's, like, a possible police brutality situation. Maybe it might be more helpful to just be more honest with it, And that's all I'm asking, and that's all I'm looking for when I'm watching the news, and I get frustrated because I see that there's all these problems in society, and it doesn't do us any good to lie or cover for people that are doing what's wrong. So that's all I'm saying. I mean, the right, I know a lot of people on the right still that are good people, and they just want to have a safer community, and they want things to be better, but you have to be willing to hold up your own sometimes to a higher standard.
Definitely. And examine those blind spots. And it's like, it's definitely a defense mechanism to fall into the mindset where, those people are your friends. They're looking out for you. They have your best interests at heart. They're here to help. They're here to help your community. They're here to keep us all safe, because Lord knows what would happen without them.
Right.
And it's like, it's truly some kind of game that people play with themselves to think that those are the people we can rely upon. And, they just don't have the greatest track record to prove that that's the case, or even that's what they're interested in, or that's what their responsibility is. Like, what was that Supreme Court hearing that actually established that cops don't have to...
They don't have to protect you.
They don't have to protect you.
They're not required... What is it? It's not like mandated that they have to protect us now. So what good does it do anymore?
It's not their job to keep you safe.
I mean, if you're...
It's been admitted.
I mean...
It's on the public record.
Yeah. And I guess that's the thing, is that maybe this, bringing it back to the left a little bit, I get a little bit confused about what they want to do, because they hate guns, but they hate cops too. So what is the answer? You know,
their answer is give the cops the guns only.
Well, the cops are corrupt, so what do you want?
Yeah, right.
You hate cops, remember?
I don't know. Cops are racist and they're evil, and so let's give them all the guns. Right, Beto?
God, he's a moron.
He is such a moron.
And he just set himself up with that name, because I just call him Beta all day long.
Because he is a massive, massive beta.
Yeah, for real. There's nothing sexy about him at all.
I kind of want to vomit just thinking about him. I can't believe he's reproduced with somebody. Who did that?
I don't know. She must be like one of those like butch chicks that really likes to control her man.
Like an alpha that really like needs, or like a faux alpha, I'd say. Because I think a real alpha female wants the alpha male as well. But, you know, some weird... The world has been changed into a very weird place, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Little young me, what do I know? But, it's so off-kilter. And I think everybody feels it. And that's why there is this unrest and this turmoil and this conflict. And so much of it, I know, like, we're all pitted against each other. And that comes from the media. That comes from the top down. That comes from the talking heads and people on TV that...
Yeah.
I don't know, like, why they think they're so important. But, really, I can't tell you how much better I am without having a TV. But I watch Netflix and, you know, movies, and I read, and I pay attention based on, like, sources I trust, but I have to go on the internet to find them all.
Yeah, I can't. The mainstream...
Or in podcasts.
Yeah, the mainstream media, anything that you can watch on television, or, I'm even going to say, like, newspapers are out. I mean, and all you have to do, really, is look at who is sponsoring all of these. And then you'll know why their slant is a certain way. Like the Washington Post, me and Maddie were talking offline about the Washington Post. Well, who just bought it recently?
Bezos.
Yep. And then did you know that he accepted a bunch of money from the CIA?
Yep.
So...
Oh, was that rhetorical? I know.
So...
That's only because I care and pay attention.
There you go. So they're...
And I want to know who the puppet masters are.
Which makes me extremely anxious when, like, the recent thing about Washington Post was how they described al-Baghdadi when he was murdered. They like, the title was like austere religious leader or something like that, instead of, I don't know, ISIS.
Austere religious scholar.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, this guy was a rapist. He was a murderer. I mean, why would you even call him that?
It's just a weird place for them to have gotten themselves into with that.
And so...
And the memes have been wonderful, so I'll thank them for that.
Yeah.
I'll thank them for their service on that front.
But why? Because the CIA their interest should be in protecting and saving us from people like him.
Mm-hmm. You'd think.
Why would they allow that title to come out? And it was, from what I understood, it was titled something else, and then they changed it to that softer title. So, I mean, I feel like...
wondering who they're trying to placate.
Right, yeah. What is they trying to do?
Yeah.
It's just really weird, and...
No. I don't consider any of them journalists. I can't consider that journalism.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing that we get libertarians or ANCAPs get accused of a lot of times is that we love corporations and we support corporations and we just hate government so much. Well, corporations wouldn't exist if it weren't for government, because government puts so many regulations on companies that they do form into corporations, and they have no choice in order to maintain and make a profit. They have to form corporations. I mean, not all corporations are like Coca-Cola or, Amazon or something like that. There are smaller corporations that are like mom and pop people that, they're not making millions of dollars. But one of the things that I don't like about corporations is what we're seeing with like the Washington Post and Amazon, and them getting in bed with government, like the CIA, taking government money to keep their business afloat. Yeah. I don't like that.
Corporate welfare is just as disgusting, if not more so, than...
I don't know any libertarian that likes that.
Than other welfare.
I mean, if you... what was the name of that book? I have it sitting over here. Oh my gosh.
What's it about?
It's written by a journalist, and she was writing during the Obama administration. She suddenly started writing articles about the Obama administration in a negative way. And
Cheryl Atkinson?
Yeah. But what's the name of that book?
She's written maybe 2 in the past however many years, so couldn't tell you either, but...
Anyways, I didn't finish reading it, but I got to where like she had her laptop turned on in the middle of the night, and she saw that somebody remotely put something on her laptop, like a document on her laptop.
That is so creepy.
So, I mean, that's not cool. If we're supposed to have a freedom of the press in this country, I don't think that government should be in bed with these corporations. I don't like these entities that we didn't vote for, like anybody through the CIA or the FBI or the NSA for that matter, having any involvement in our economy. They need to be hands-free of our economy, our media, because that's why we see so much bias. And I think that there is something for them keeping the left and the right so strictly, against each other. And there's something they gain from having the left and right hate each other so much. There really is.
Definitely.
Because let's just face it. I mean, we just saw like Ellen DeGeneres and Bush like at a game together, hanging out like they're best buddies. I mean, they're all on the same team.
They're all on the same team.
So it's like, why are we even pretending?
And reminder, it's not the team that we are on. We, as in the regular Joe, Schmo, Lady Joes.
Yeah.
Whatever you call us. Josephina? Us normal commoners of the United States of America. We are not those people. We are not the ruling class. We are not the elite. And they know, or they like see themselves above all of us.
Yeah. So my suggestion is, if you just can't wrap your mind around looking at alternative sources, and I mean, I'll say I'll list off some news sources that I think are good. The Propaganda Report. I think that listening to Part of the Problem with Dave Smith is a good one. Tom Woods is always good on giving you
can learn
just like
everything.
He teaches
from Tom
everything.
Woods.
He talks about
actually everything,
current events and historical events, and everything in between. But I
would also say, especially for like people who are on the right and are afraid to like really far on the, I don't know, like traditional right, and might be afraid to jump into the online world and alternative media. I mean, go look at Ron Paul's Liberty Report.
Yeah.
He and Daniel McAdams put on a show every day. It's about 30 minutes. They have a podcast if that's the only way you can listen to it, but they're on YouTube. I stream them there. And, you know, they're just very straightforward. They're looking for the objective truth. They don't play sides. Their only side and concern is your individual liberties as an American citizen, as a person of this world. You know, just very... There's nothing edgy about either of them. But it's crazy that they're kind of seen as such, but that's just because they try and speak truth to power. Like, actual truth to actual power.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I'll admit, when I listen to Dave Smith or I listen to Monica Perez on the Propaganda Report, is that what it's called?
Yeah, but you can call it Prop Report.
Yeah. I know that there's a slant. I know that there's going to be a libertarian slant to everything that they say. So if that bothers you guys, I mean, listen to that and listen to what you say or what you listen to and compare the two and see. Yeah. There's going to be a wide gap in what you see the mainstream media, who's paid for by Coca-Cola, by the CIA, the FBI, by Amazon,
Boeing, Chevron, the energy companies.
And then you have people like Monica Perez on the Propaganda Report, who does like a radio show in Atlanta, and, you know, she's just got local, like a furniture store as her, her sponsors.
I know. She's awesome.
So think about that. Just think about that and put those things together. Like, what would be the motivation to tell you how horrible Trump is and how he needs to be impeached, and that we really should have just had Hillary Clinton all along, or
it's Halloween week.
Yeah, or how like this impeachment process is a sham, and all the Democrats they're just trying to shove all these immigrants into our country so they'll vote Democrat. I mean, come on, like. But look who are the sponsors, and look who is behind the big people behind the wheel.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah. So we know that I guess maybe the right knows that Fox News is biased towards the right. They kind of know that that's really the only place that they have to hang out to watch the news.
Right.
And the left specifically won't go to Fox News because they think it's biased towards the right, but there seems to be this blind spot as to what CNN and MSNBC address, and really every other channel you can turn to. They all lean to some degree to the left, but I think none of them,
they won't admit it, right? Like, they don't.
That's mostly it. Like, MSNBC might come the closest to kind of admitting that they've got a bias, but I still don't think so. But none of them admit that they have a bias, and thus, like, people who are diehard fanatics for those channels and completely 100% rely upon them as their source of news don't understand that there's also a bias there.
I will say this:
it's like there's a bias everywhere.
Yeah,
just know it.
There's a bias everywhere.
Face it, address it, and like you were saying, try to balance out those views.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons
question everything.
Probably why I became a libertarian is because when I started listening to Tom Woods and Dave Smith and another podcaster that will remain nameless,
sure.
I will say that the thing that I liked about all of them, especially, and Ron Paul as well, they all were saying that the left and the right had their problems. Here is the problem with the right and what they're doing that's messing up everything, and here's the problem with the left. And they would criticize both sides, a president from the right and the left. And I think that and like even today, like you will listen to a libertarian or an anarchist, news source, and they're going to criticize Trump as well as Obama. They're not just going to pick that. So that's what I like about it, because you're not going to just hear oh, but Trump is doing all these wonderful things and he's saving all these people, and, you know, he doesn't ever poop. He just passes a little bit of gas.
MAGA! It's great American poop.
You know, it's just, come on. Like, I hate to hear, like, my ears always perk up when I never hear them criticize their own side. That always makes me realize, like, there's something not right about this.
I know. Yeah.
So, and that leads me to, and since we were talking about the propaganda report, I was listening to, this, was it this week or last week? I guess it was last week.
I think it oh yeah, so, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, there was a big interview that Joe Rogan did with Edward Snowden, and everybody made such a huge deal about it. And I used to be, like, an Edward Snowden, like, fan. Like, I thought what he did was so brave, and I was, I thought that he was doing the right thing. And I still think that part of that whole thing was brave. But I listened to Monica Perez and I'm going to butcher this guy's name.
Quinones.
Yeah, I just want to say Mance Rayder because it's just easier.
Yeah, I know, it is. He goes by his real name now, but Mance Rayder is much easier to say. Free man beyond the wall.
Yep.
Just, that's easy. Go to the podcast.
Go to his latest, I think it's his latest. He did an interview with Monica Perez, and they really just hatched out that whole interview and just laid out their issues with Edward Snowden, and it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, just the gist of it really is, Monica was talking about how Edward Snowden really, like, why was that such a big news story? It was all over all the mainstream media all over when that happened. And they even allowed that documentary Citizen 4 to come out on, I think it was Netflix. But then Julian Assange, I mean, everything that's been going on with him, we barely get word on how he's doing in prison. Right?
Yeah. And that man is not doing well.
Yeah.
Like, he can barely string a sentence together right now, if last I heard.
He's been drugged.
Yeah, I just hope they get him. I've heard people talk about him getting extradited soon to the U.S. and that being a positive thing so that we can keep him safe here. We, meaning, hopefully, the Trump administration, despite some of the saber rattling I think we've seen from him. And I really pray and hope that that's the case, because Julian Assange, his and WikiLeaks actions in the 2016 election season really were instrumental in letting the truth come out that the DNC cheated Bernie out of a candidacy, or a nomination at least,
right.
And that they were backing Hillary, that they were trying to handpick both her inter-party opponents and how to beat them all and how to handle them all, how to get them out of her way. Mm-hmm. And then also how and who to prop up on the right.
Right.
And the funny thing about it all is that, like, they wanted Trump to be propped up. Like, once they kind of saw that he was catching a foothold, they're like, all right, this will be easy. Yep. Just shine all the light on him, get him the spotlight, get him the attention. Do what you can, because we want him to be her opponent.
Yeah.
And then he beat her. Yeah.
But, and for those that really hate Julian Assange because he helped get Trump, in, which I guess he sort of did. I mean, it wasn't hard to. All he had to do was just expose Hillary for what she was.
Yeah, which a lot of people were already waking up to, but, like, I think it was a pretty big eye-opening moment.
But everybody forgets that he basically he's the reason why everybody hates Bush, too.
Yeah, that's true.
He exposed a lot of things that Bush was doing. Not only that we were spying, but also that we were doing these just awful things. Like, I mean, the drone program started under him. So we were doing some god-awful things to these people in foreign countries that we shouldn't have been doing. Thanks to Bradley Manning, or Chelsea Manning, whichever one you want to call him, being willing to show that. Now, that's a whole nother story we could go on with Chelsea Manning. I don't know the psyops on that, but, you know, I just think that if you're going to criticize Julian Assange for how Trump became president, you also have to remember that he in a way, he got us Obama too, because he made Bush look so bad.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, like, you know, nobody's perfect, and I'm sure he's not an angel of a human, but I think his mission for just publishing what exists, publishing the records, publishing that, it's like, if you can stick to objective truth, then you don't have to play sides. You don't have to pick a team. You don't have to pick a dog, and you're not in the fight. You're just letting the truth be exposed, and, like, everybody can make a better, more rational decision based on objective truth.
And they didn't even see, the thing about WikiLeaks is they didn't take a news information and then, like, spin it how they wanted it, like ABC did with that the
not real Syrian video, but the Kentucky video that they edited. You mean?
Knob Creek.
Crazy.
Yeah. That, you know, they didn't do that. All they did was say, here are a bunch of emails that we got off of.
Here's 10,000 pages. Yeah. Enjoy.
And they just released it, and they let the public decide for themselves what that information meant, which is what the news is supposed to be. And everything that WikiLeaks has released, it all has turned out to be true. 100%. So,
there's never any criticism of, like, whether or not it's truthful.
And if you remember, like, when all those emails were released, well, the funny thing is that the, you know, Hillary campaign, Hillary and John Podesta and just all of these people, they weren't saying how untrue that information was. They were talking about how Russia...
Yeah, I was going to say that they brought Russia into the mixture.
Yeah, Russia got involved somehow.
Russia is telling everybody how bad we are.
So everybody that's on the left that thinks that that WikiLeaks was, you know, was terrible, just remember everything they released, your folks never denied that was true. So that should put some pause into it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We're questioning whether or not Edward Snowden is as brave and stunning as we thought he was.
Yeah, I don't know if he's quite as brave and stunning. It seems, I don't know, like, you were right, as soon as, and our stunning and brave, well, I think we've touched on her before, but, you know, Monica Perez, she is such a badass. Like, if you're not listening to the Propaganda Report, please go listen and subscribe. Her and her producers Drive Time News Blast, they do these shorter episodes every day of the week, and then they do a longer episode once a week when she does her show in Atlanta on the actual, like, AM radio, whatever, I don't know, actual radio. But yeah, so it was actually her, like you said, latest interview on Mance Rayder's show, Free Man Beyond the Wall. Go check it out. And again, it's just like, go in with an open mind. Whatever you thought about Edward Snowden, whether you did think he was a traitor or whether you did think he was a hero, I really think it was important for me to hear her perspective, because she researched the crap out of him back in the day. And like, that's just how her brain works and what she does. So
it's smart. It's a smart way to look at it.
She's very smart. And so she brought up a lot of good points. And I think a bit differently about him now, honestly. And you can't trust anybody. Don't put anybody on a pedestal, because you don't, unless you, like, can truly and honestly somehow genuinely tell that they don't have a shtick that they're trying to sell you, that there's not somebody behind them, like, poking them, pushing them to say certain things. Like, just be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you put your trust in. Be careful who you idolize.
Yeah, I mean, I get criticized a lot because I don't like when we were talking about American history, I'll be like, well, that guy was a bad guy. That guy was a bad guy. And my husband will always be like, well, was there anybody that you like? Like, you know, well, I don't have to like anybody. Like, and the thing is, I don't really think that there's very many good people, like, in real life ever, you know, even including myself. Like, I'm a selfish person. I'm loud, obnoxious. I mean, if I met me, I probably wouldn't like me sometimes, especially like if I didn't have coffee, I would be a awful person to meet.
Well,
but
at least you're off Monster now, right?
Yeah, but it's not. I'm on like these energy like shakes that I make. It's not much better, but it's cheaper than a Monster for sure.
There you go.
But yeah, I think that the big thing is though, be a skeptic. You don't have to be just like me and just like be negative all the time. I promise I'm not negative all the time, actually, but.
I'm a pretty positive person, but I'm very skeptical and suspicious. So I don't know. You can find whatever balance works for you.
I feel like if I'm always like when I'm in a new situation and people are like, don't like that person, or you need to really get to know that one, and then my antenna comes up and I realize I gotta seek this out for myself. Yeah. I think that's how you should look at news. I mean, take that information and, you know, question it, test it up against some other things that you believe in. I mean, what are your principles? That's the big thing. It's like, I have core principles. Do you have core principles? What are your core principles? And does it match up with what the media is telling you?
And what you see and experience on a day-to-day basis with actual people in the real world. Mm-hmm. Like, does what they're saying make sense or not? And generally, it doesn't. Yeah. And I don't know when it did.
And I mean, if you really were to do like a deep dive on any like person in history, for example, like we've just found out like a bunch of horrible things about Martin Luther King. You know, there was a lot of bad stuff that was found out about him, but at the same time, there's a lot of really good stuff. So do we just negate all the good stuff because of all the bad stuff? I don't think so. I think that we have to look at people as human beings, which means that we don't put them on this gigantic pedestal and, you know, like Trump is going to save the United States from blah, 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 or Obama was this wonderful president because of A, B, and C. They're both human beings and they both were fallible. They probably were not great husbands all the time. They probably weren't great dads all the time. I mean, there's probably a point in which they cussed. I know that Obama smoked cigarettes, so my God. You know, it's like, let's just see them as human beings. And we save ourselves a lot of drama. All right. Anything else you want to...
Nah, that's probably good for right now. And, especially because, you know, we always go longer than we think we will. But that's because we're just fired up for freedom and free thought, right?
Right.
But on that joyous note, please, if you don't already, follow us on Instagram at Voluntary Vixens. We love interacting with you. We love hearing from you. And we love memes.
Yes.
Send us memes. We're all about memes. Like, literally, memes make my day. Or you could email us at voluntaryvixens@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, same thing, Voluntary Vixens. Find us on Twitter. We're not that active, but, you know, we might be. I know Jessie's on there on occasion.
Yeah.
Vixens_voluntary, or just Vixens Voluntary? I think it's that.
I think it's just Either Vixens Voluntary.
Search us and you'll find us. We are on Patreon. Vixens_voluntary. And, you know, if we were to actually make money, like, part of our plan would be to donate a good percentage of it to, like, a rotating libertarian cause, local cause, community cause. So, you know, like, it's not really something that we're doing for profit. We're just here to kind of have fun, vent a little, and hopefully share ideas in a different way.
Yeah. And
to a different audience than might normally be reached.
And
Did I miss any plugs?
I just wanted to plug David from The Morning Drive with Dave, just because...
Yes.
Or David, sorry. Because he he and I did an interview, or I guess it wasn't an interview, we just kind of co-hosted together about Child Protective Services, and that was a really fun episode. So if you guys want to check him out on his podcast, he does like these short little 20-minute, on his drive to work rants about different topics. It's kind of interesting.
He's stunning and brave.
Yeah. Along with Monica Perez. And
Girl crush.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. And I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
All
right. We'll do what we can, but you all listening in the meantime, keep it safe, keep it peaceful, and keep it voluntary.
Peace.